All right, everybody. My name is Lisa Marie Tedesco. I'm the writer, director, producer for the film you just saw, The Paradise Road.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shelly Ro. I am a producer and I play Ellie in the film.
The first thing I need to ask you guys about is, as they say in the real estate business, location, location, location. Oh my God, was this beautiful?
Yeah, so that's my summer home. No, I'm just kidding. Absolutely not.
Can I please come over?
Oh man, no, that is not my summer home. Man, I wish it was. I'll let Shelly explain that to you because that house is actually on location in Mexico, and that's all her domain. That she got it for us. So Shelly, please explain how that came about.
Yeah, so this house, I've known about it for a while before we shot the film. And, it's on Airbnb. You can stay there if you want. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's beautiful. And once Lisa, you know, we had this call and Lisa says, you know what, I didn't sleep and I've been writing and I have this script and I can see it and let me send it to you. So I read it and we were talking about location. And when she was explaining to me what the space needed to feel like, I asked her, like, have you thought about shooting maybe in Mexico? Because I thought about this house. And so I started, I asked two friends that kind of we have this wine valley in Mexico. And so there's a lot of different locations, and maybe that was also an option. So, they give me a lot of options. But as soon as we saw those pictures, and Lisa actually was able to see those pictures of that house and see that tub and the view and learn more about the owner has travels all over the world and just picks up pieces from different places. And so the floor in one of the rooms is from a monastery somewhere in Italy, and the doors are so everything is refurbished. So the house itself, aside from the beauty and what you see on screen, what you feel when you're there and just the energy of the space itself, it's pretty magical. So we were able to talk to the owner. We were hesitant that they were going to be okay with us having cameras, equipment, working with the ceiling, like it's all these stuff. And he was wonderful. He was all for it, and we're very grateful because the house itself turned into a character, and it worked.
The weekend starts with all of the sort of tropes of a romantic comedy, of a rom-com, of a honeymoon weekend. You get the wine and you've got the fire pit and you've got that magnificent scene of let me carry you across the threshold. But when the movie begins, we're not entirely aware of where this is going. Who is this weekend for? Who is this getaway for? Because it seems to me there's work to be done for both of the characters.
I feel like it is meant for both of them in their own right. If there were a backstory to this, I feel like they both understand the situation they're going into, and that they understand that what is about to happen is agreed upon, and also that Ellie, being it her body, her illness, her life, essentially, it's like her final decision. And ultimately, with the marriage, she wants Shay to be taken care of down the road once she, passes. Yeah. So it's the final moments, and they're both on the same page, but you can see in the moments of, the final breaths being taken that it isn't so much being a hesitant, maybe being like rethinking it. It's, being a natural emotional situation where this is real. You're leaving me. I don't know what's coming next. I don't know if there's anything beyond death. I am scared shitless.
Yeah.
But like ultimately, you know, Shay during the illness that Ellie had was her rock, and now you see Ellie becoming Shay's rock during this moment that they have, especially during the fire pit scene when Shay has her breakdown,
Yeah.
and you see how she has this whole acceptance during when that like 8 minute steady cam shot that we have, that when Mandala, our actor, she was magnificent in it, where she reads the letter and she kind of like finally understands and comes to terms that this might not be the end, and that she trusts Ellie. But I think it was for both of them ultimately.
Shelly, even though that the location is just ridiculously beautiful, the movie is very, very intimate, and it's just the two of you and your faces, and as you're back and forth over how to deal with grief and loss.
Yeah.
How was that process for you as an actor?
Well, there's several things. I love hearing Lisa's perspective because I know this was communicated to me at the beginning of the process, that it was a weekend for both of them. And right now that I'm listening to what she's saying, while prepping for this, at least from the perspective of the character from Ellie, it is very much a weekend for Shay because she's no longer going to be here. And I think the only way that I could get there was really saying, all right, I already said goodbye. I'm done with everything. I know what I'm going to do. I got to that point, and now it's about making sure, I guess, that our last moments are beautiful, but it's very much for her because she stays. And even though we don't know what happens after, she's staying and I'm leaving. As Ellie, an interesting thing, there's not a lot of there are not a lot of interviews or a lot of written material about people that have gone through this process, but there's specifically this. It's like a vlog. It's a video vlog of a young woman that kind of went through this process, and she provided access to it on the internet. And I shared this with Lisa when we were prepping for the film, that by the end, she went on camera through the entire process. But by the end, the last few weeks, she was saying that it was this wasn't released until she passed, and it was saying that she was at a point where she was able to let go, and now her only responsibility was take care of her loved ones. So I think a big part of it, for me at least, was for that weekend to be about Shay and what she was about to go through. For how intimate the film feels, I think one, like me at the beginning of like any film, it's the writing. And the moment you read the script, and that's all Lisa, you read the script and the descriptions of the scenes and the description of what's happening between them, when you're reading it, it feels like you are the only person in that room. And you feel, even when you're reading it, you feel a little bit like you're intruding in something that you shouldn't be there. So
Yeah.
that's there from the writing. And I think Lisa did a really good job working with Carrie Morgan, our DP, wonderful DP, in creating those visuals. From the acting perspective with Mandala, we spent like 3 hours just chatting about life, us as humans. And very quickly, we realized that we were going to be okay in terms of building a relationship like theirs. And so I think it really was about, at least for both of us, every time we went into a scene, we just looked into each other's eyes. This is like process. We looked into each other's eyes and it was like, it's just you and me. It's just you and me. It's just you and me. And it felt I think it felt like we were making a rom-com, like you brought up at the beginning, until we weren't. So it was very much about building that. It's just you and me in the world. Yeah. And the house is huge, and there were many people, but I think everyone again, from the script, understood what it was. So everyone did whatever they needed to do to make it feel that way as well.
Lisa, one of the things that really struck me at the first time I went through it, and I should say this is a film that rewards multiple viewings. I catch something different each time. But the first time I was struck by the choice of music. There at a critical moment during the shots in when you're playing Going to the Chapel at the beginning, we get the line, "We'll never be lonely anymore." And then the Mary Lambert piece at the end, "She Keeps Me Warm," which is the final act of spooning for the two of them. And tell me about how you got to those pieces.
Interesting enough, Going to the Chapel was written in the script. It was the first thing I wrote. I said, Over Black, Going to the Chapel is playing because I wanted to be a little bouncy in the beginning. Everyone knows that song. Everybody can sing along to that song. People have maybe some fun memories to that song. So we kept it in. We kept it in the first edit. We're like, maybe we can get the rights. Maybe. And luckily enough, Shelly was able to nab them from Sony. And we kept it in there. So luckily enough, it just went like in the edit and everything. It fits so beautifully in that opening part. Mary Lambert, that has such a deep, intimate story connected to it because while we were on set, and I did not tell the actors to do this, I was like, this is going to be a montage part. And they insistently listened to that song on repeat pretty much nonstop. I don't know if you did, Shelly, but I know Mandala did 100% because
we shared. So we had one phone and we shared that. Yeah.
I know you guys were listening to it on repeat every shoot day. Didn't matter the scene we were shooting. It was playing in their ear. And when it came to the editing, we actually went out to London where my friend Emily lives. She's a brilliant editor, and we were editing out there. And I'm like, I'm going to try again to get the rights to the song. Let's just leave it as a placeholder right now. It looked so beautiful after with the montage and everything. I ended up getting the rights to the song from Mary and Macklemore and all that. Got it. It fits so well because they were so emotionally invested into that song. They're like, you have to get it. Somehow you have to get it because on set, we were just, everyone, even the crew was just so connected to that song because
it was so perfect for that moment, Lisa. It just,
we were playing it nonstop. Like, so like even the crew were singing along. People who've never heard it before were just like swaying, and they knew it by heart by the time we left. So I knew I had to get it somehow. So that's how it worked out.
Wonderful. Last question. The film is not just about love and grief and loss, but it also has a strong thread of bodily autonomy, which as a trans woman is really important with what happened to Roe v. Wade. The idea that Ellie can choose what she wants. That speech, Shelly, that you give about it, the chemo was just too hard the first time around, and I don't want to do that to my body again. Talk a little bit about autonomy from the creative point of view, if you would.
Yeah, so it's not 100% legal for maid medically assistance in death. So I believe a lot of the West Coast, it's legal in most of the states. Here in the East Coast, I believe it's Maine. I think Maine, only a handful of states. So when you know, you have and I've had family members who've had severe illnesses and cancer and whatnot, and you see the trauma in their eyes, in their family's eyes, and you yourself just want to take that pain away, but legally you can't. So, you know, commenting on that and being able to tell a story like that, you know, we're just trying to say that we want people to be able to have this choice, and we wanted to show it. So that's why I think it's important, as much as a big decision death can be, as it is final, I think people deserve that right.
Shelly,
Yeah.
what is that like in Mexico? Is there a right to a dignified death, or is that?
So here it's a little bit more on the federal level, and some states do have certain regulations. The one thing that I think happens across the board, and at least I can speak to Mexico and the U.S., is that as most of these things that have to do with autonomy and rights, it becomes very much about because it has to be legislated in some way, shape, or form. So it becomes very formulaic. And once something becomes very formulaic, you take away the humanity. And I understand that it's, if you have some benchmarks, that's the way you go. But the one thing that I think the film does beautifully is these are just two people. And this is something very real that it's happening in their lives. So once you take away the formula of the politics of it, you really are just left with two people that are going through something very hard. And I think
Yeah.
once you put a face to something that is very real, you're able to maybe see things from another perspective that maybe you haven't before, which I think is one of the beauties of the film. Aside from, of course, we're dealing with grief and with love, as you say, but this specific piece just making it very human, which is at the end of the day the truth for every single person that is going through this. It is very human. And that's actually one of the things that was, well, I was watching this blog for this girl that decided to share this process with everyone. She needed to move from her state somewhere else with her family, and to be able and then live a certain amount of time in that state and have certain doctors approve different things for her. Finally, I think it was after 2.5 years of living in intense pain, to actually get permission. And then that state didn't have the drugs, so then they needed to do a request from another state to send the drug. It was, the entire process was needlessly long and not very human.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, this film certainly puts that, as you say, into a perspective where it's just two people that we love, and you want to see the best for both of them. Thank you both so much. Can't wait to talk to you more next week. Thanks.
Same. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.